Good morning, guys. You know what time it is. It's time for tactics. Hey, so welcome back to the Tactics with Trav YouTube channel, where we go through tactics in my tournament games for the most part. Sometimes they're online games, but there's a lot of relevance to your games because I hand select these based on just the tactics that were played, the ideas, and I fully explain them. This is an extremely analytical channel where we go through a deep dive, and it's pretty fun because we added a new element called the shame bell. If you've ever seen Game of Thrones, Cersei Lannister, she's a really bad character. Anyway, there's a scene in the show where she gets shamed with the shame bell. So I have it now. I have my shame bell. So excited to add that element to our show. And let's just get into it. So I'm playing white. My opponent's black. I'm a 17-16 in this game. He's a 16-41. So we're both solid B class players. So let's just get started. So I played knight f3. He plays d5, g3, knight f6, bishop g2, c5. And if you've seen my previous episodes or videos, guys, you know I like to play the King's Indian attack. So it's a really solid opening. Use at all levels. And I just know all the lines. And you can play this at club level, but you can also play it at higher levels. Some GMs do play it. Castles, knight c6, d3, e6. And guys, I'm going to kind of whip through and speed through some of the book moves here, and then get to the good part, because that's why you're here, the good parts of this video. Bishop e7, e4, striking at the center, queen c7. This is all book. c3, castles, a4, b6, 91, preparing f4, rook d8, f4, d takes e4, d takes e4, e5. All right, so I had a decision to make here, guys, and that was, am I going to take the pawn at e5, or am I going to push the pawn, or do I do something else? So the best move in my plan was to attack on the king side. So I wanted to press f5, and that was what I was prepping. And taking on e5 just would not have been very accurate. So I played f5 here, bishop b7, queen e2, queen d7, knight c4. So I like playing the knight c4 variation a lot of times, like in the King's Indian. When you press f4 or a4, that's to protect the b5 square so that black can't kick you off c4. But in this position, the way that he played this is, it's easily diffused. Like if he goes bishop a6, he can pin my knight to my queen. But because I had planned to go kingside here, I didn't really mind if he were to take on c4, and if I had pressed b3, I could just take back. Even though my pawn structure would be damaged, in this position, I was okay with that because my plan for the middle game was just to rush on the king side. So no worries in this position if that were to occur. Queen d1. So he trades off queens here. He tries to, and I oblige. I'm like, okay, let's go ahead and trade queens. Knight e3, rook d7, g4. So this is where I start my kingside attack, guys. I press g4, and I want to press g5 and potentially like press f6, because then we're kicking his knight with tempo, and then we can press f6 to attack his bishop. But he makes a really good move here, guys. See if you can spot it. Pause your videos, see if you can see his move. All right, so knight a5. Great move by my opponent. He attacks e4 twice, then the knight on f6 and the bishop on b7. It's only defended once for my bishop here. He's also threatening knight to b3, which is just tough to deal with because my dark squared bishop is hemmed in. So that was an issue with why maybe I went knight e3, or why knight e3 wasn't good. So with knight b3, you know, I got to think, how am I going to defend this? Maybe I go rook b1, maybe I go rook a3, but for the moment, I'm being attacked more times than I can defend on e4. So I press g5. I decide to counterattack. Knight takes e4. Bishop takes e4. Bishop takes e4. f6. This is what I was playing for. It's just to get an attack going on the king side. But I'm down a pawn. Knight b3. So instead of addressing that right away, he goes knight b3. And I go rook a3. Knight takes c1. F takes e7. So you take my bishop, I'll take your bishop. But I am down a pawn. Rook a to e8. Now, what's interesting, guys, is this pawn ends up becoming my compensation for the later part of the middle game and the end game. So he has some difficulty coming up protecting against this e7 pawn. Knight f3 with a discovered attack on his knight on c1. So he goes knight to d3, getting it out of the way. And I go knight to d2 with another attack, with an attack on his bishop just to get it out of there. Now my plan was to attack on the king side, right? So I thought during this game the best move for him would have been to go bishop to g6 just to help protect against knight f5. Because what I wanted to do was post my knight up on f5 and add extra protection to the e7 pawn. That was my plan this entire time, and why I had rerouted to knight e3 so I could go to f5. Although the computer did agree with his drop back of bishop to c6, didn't have any issue with him going this direction, but I did think it was slightly inaccurate from a practical perspective that he didn't go bishop to g6, because it allowed this knight f5, and this becomes a real thorn in his position and my compensation for being down a pawn. Knight takes b2, so he wins another pawn. Knight f3, knight c4. So good move by my opponent. He's playing very well. He hasn't made any mistakes, any major mistakes. There's been some inaccuracies on both sides, but nothing that's deserving of a shame bell. So after knight to c4, I go to rook a2, bishop e4, attacking both knights and trying to lop off my knight on f5. But instead of moving it away and losing the defense of my e7 pawn, I wanted to reinforce my knight there, because if you do take my knight, and this is what I chose to do, knight f3 to h4, I'm just going to take back with the other knight. And there's no easy way to dislodge this knight from defense of that knight. So this was the best move. Stockfish agreed with it as well. Knight h6, check. Or excuse me, g6. So this is what I was waiting for, guys, was g6. And I was just salivating at the moment that he played g6, because if he plays g6, pause your videos. What are we going to play? All right, so we were hoping for g6 because I have knight to h6 check. And if king to g7, we have rook takes f7 check. And he's going to go back to, say, h8. And then we would have rook to f8 check. Rook takes f8, and then e7 takes f8, queen, that would be checkmate. So that was my hope. I mean, he's a 1641 though, guys. He's not like a low rated player. So he saw this. And so after I played knight to h6 check, he went to h8. And so now we take the pawn on f7 with still the threat of rook to f8 check. Rook takes f8, e7 takes f8, queen, which would be checkmate. So he doesn't do that. He doesn't fall for, or he doesn't make that blunder. He takes with the d rook. Rook d takes e7. rook takes, or rook back, rook A to F2, excuse me. So I just double up on the file here with my own rook, with my rook battery, and he plays a great move here, guys. So like, pause your videos, you see the threat. We already went through what we're threatening here. What is the saving move for black? All right, so bishop to d5 is what he plays. It's a great move because with my rook battery, I'm threatening to press rook f7 to f8 check, rook takes f8, rook takes f8 check, king to g7, and then rook to g8 would be checkmate. So it's an Arabian mate when the knight and the rook work together in the corner against the opposing king. That's called an Arabian mate. So that's why I've been threatening this entire time. And that's what I was trying to reinforce with this rook coming over to f2. But he sees that, and with bishop to d5, he's looking to intervene his bishop on g8 if that were to happen. So in this, with bishop to g5, if rook to f8 check, rook takes f8, then rook to f8 check, rook takes f8, and rook takes f8 check, king to g7, and rook to g8 won't work anymore for checkmate because his bishop defends the g8 square. So that's the genius and the brilliance of bishop to d5 by my opponent. Rook 7. So, and he's also attacking my rook. So now I got to move it. I can't leave it on the 7th rank. So I moved rook 7 to f6, e4. So now he starts to counterattack and comes down the e file with his pawn that's a passed pawn and just comes after me. So he just defends great. Rook to e2. I have to stop this pawn, and rook e2 is the best move. Rook e5. So he does a good job turning the tides on me, and he's counterattacking my g5 pawn, or just attacking my g5 pawn. There's no good way to defend it without losing my blockade on his e4 pawn, because I don't want to go rook to g2, because then he has e3. He's just going to run right down the e file with his pawn. King f2, e3 check, king e1. Just dealing with knowing that I'm going to lose the g pawn. Rook takes g5, knight to f7 check, forcing the trade because that bishop was just a thorn in my position. Bishop takes f7, rook takes f7, rook g1 check, and this is forced because I'm almost mated. And this is what's so amazing about this game, guys. This game is crazy. This is where things really heat up. I mean, you saw the threat earlier in the corner of the board, but things just get crazier. So I block because it's forced. I have to, so I don't get mated. Rook takes f1 check. King takes f1. Rook to d8. Knight to f3, because I got to protect against rook to d2, because if I don't do that, he's just going to go rook d2, force the trade. Rook takes d2, e3 takes d2, and he's going to queen shortly after. So I had to stop him from coming rook to d2. Rook d1 check. King g2. Rook a1. Just coming after my a4 pawn. I mean, that's a great move. Like, there's nothing I can do to stop him from taking my pawn. And he's just slowly, I mean, grinding me down. So I am way down here, guys. Like, knight g5. And I had an idea here, guys. Like, this is what I was thinking, was I'm going to lose this game if I don't come up with some sort of clever plan to try to counterattack and just come up with something, some sort of threat. So my idea was fairly cheesy, but it's to pull off an Arabian mate in the corner with somehow getting my rook rerouted to maybe the 7th rank and controlling his king, which is all the way back on h8, and then maybe getting my knight to f6 and checkmating him with rook takes h7 check. I mean, that's very basic, guys. Like, that's very low level type of checkmate. But what else do I have? I mean, I'm way down here. Like, he's about ready to win my a4 pawn. So I'm just thinking of clever ways to maybe salvage this game. Rook takes a4. Rook e1. Because I want to reroute to d1 or f1 and then be able to move forward with that plan. Rook a2 check. King g3. Rook c2 just to come behind my c pawn and take that one out as well. Knight e4, defending the pawn, but also with the sneaky intention of rerouting to knight f6 so that I can complete my plan of maybe pulling off some sort of checkmate on black, because they're so focused on what they're doing here. He's so focused on his pass pawn that he's trying to promote that he's probably not paying much attention to his king, which is stuck all the way back on h8. a5, rook d1, knight d2, knight f6. So here we go. We got our knight on f6. I mean, practically speaking, I don't know why he didn't just go king g7, but he just lets it sit there, which helps me out. So rook takes c3, wins this pawn. I mean, how many pawns am I down, guys? I have one pawn left. He has 6, so I'm way down, guys. Like, I'm down 5.5 points. Black is up 5.5 points on me. King f4, because what I'm thinking about doing is reinforcing my knight with like king to g5. So in case he tries to salvage his king or just try to get out of there, I can cut off the h6 square and maybe get my king on h6 to help cut off that square as well. e2, rook e1, and knight to f3, which was just shocking. Shame on that move. Shame. So terrible move, guys. Terrible, because like, this pawn is about ready to promote. So if I take this pawn, like, this is, he's got a whole bunch of other pawns, but this is a huge like lifeline for me. So when he goes knight f3, I was just like, did you just miss this? So I took here, and my opponent, because this is over the board, guys, was visibly upset. Like, I mean, who wouldn't be? I'd be upset as well, because I think he just was so focused on like promoting his pawn, he forgot to protect his pawn, and it just breathed some life back into my position, even though I'm way down, guys. Like, I'm still down like 4 points here. So after rook takes e2, my opponent's visibly upset. He goes knight to d4, and I go rook to e7. So my plan is almost complete of rook takes h7 check. So I'm just kind of like, the emotions are kind of brewing here, because I'm kind of like, I might actually win this. Like, it's not over till the fat lady sings. So knight, rook to e7, rook to f3 check, threatening to take my knight, and king to g5. So pause your videos here, guys. What is the winning move for black? And look at the continuation as well. So not just one move, but the next 2 or 3 moves. Pause your videos. All right, so what black should play is rook to f5 check, and king g4 would be the best response to that, and then rook takes f6. That would have been the proper sequence. However, because he was getting in time trouble, and I was in some time trouble, but not really as much as he was. Like, he had 3 minutes left on his clock, but this is game 90 increment 30. So you still have 30 seconds extra every time you make a move and hit the clock. So it's still 3 minutes, is plenty of time. But I think after he lost the pawn, and I could see it because it's over the board, he was visual. Like, guys, he was not in a good mood. So I think his head wasn't clear. He was on tilt. And so he played the best move here and played rook to f5 check. Now, the best move for me, if we're computers, was for me to go g4, just accept the loss of my knight. But guys, I was all in. I'm like, hey, I'm trying to win this game. If I don't try to win this game, I'm clearly going to lose. So I played king to h6. And what's the best move for black here? I'll give you a couple seconds. So after king to f6 or h6, the best move is rook to h5 check, and I have to take with the knight. But the follow-up for black on that is to fork me with knight to f5, forking my king on h6 and my rook on e7, and then he wins the rook and he should win the game easily. So he's so aggravated though because of the previous moves. He plays rook to h5 check. I take here, and he takes with the pawn. G takes h5. Shame. Shame on that move. Shame. So I was ecstatic, guys. I mean, I just couldn't believe it. Like, I was like, okay, I'm going to probably get forked and then this game's over, but I would have lost anyway. So that happens. And then I look across and he's just like, just scoffs. Like, I cannot believe I just took that with the pawn. And so I just go like this, rook to e8. And guys, I've never felt so like I just didn't deserve this game. But it just goes to show how important it is to follow through the end of the game. So the game's not over till the fat lady sings. March Madness just concluded, guys, and this happened just the other night on two teams. It was Duke playing UConn, and Duke was winning the entire game, and there was a blunder at the end of the basketball game. So the same thing goes for sports, goes for basketball, football, baseball, track, you name it, whatever the sport is. The same thing goes for chess. The same thing goes for professional life, and it goes for just anything. You have to play through the end. And he was so upset, guys. I apologize. Like, hey, I was just playing for tricks at that point. He goes, yeah, I don't blame you. He goes, I let you off the hook. And I was like, yes, you did. So anyway, I just cannot believe I won this game. I didn't deserve to, but just he outplayed me, guys. Like, when I looked at the accuracy of this game and I ran it through Stockfish, he played it an 86.1% level. Like, that's pretty good. And I played it an 83.7% level. So I played fairly well. Most of my games are between low to mid 80s, and hence I'm a 1700. But I can beat masters and experts if I play a good game and they play a worse game. But I mean, I'm still within range of beating some really good players, and I'm working to get to 2200. But anyway, he played excellent until the end game, guys. So it just goes to show emotions, keep your emotions in check. It's not over till the fat lady sings. And anyway, guys, come back for the next video. I have another Shambell episode of round 2 in the same tournament because that game was crazy as well with some of the tactical combinations. So hope you enjoyed this game. We'll see you on the round 2 game on Sunday.